How do you make a good character background? Today on Out of Character. Welcome to Out of Character. I'm Jason Corley.
I'm Jerry Creason.
And I'm Don Dem.
And assisting us with engineering today is Scott Forrester.
Hello.
And before we jump into today's topic, which is about character backgrounds, I thought I'd mention a friend of the show, John Wick. He is doing 10 Pathfinder supplements in 2012. He recently announced on his blog. And his goal is he wants to do redefinitions of the classic 5 fantasy races. That's humans, elves. Can anyone name the other 3? Dwarves, 3.
Gnomes.
4. And
What are we missing? Elves.
Orcs.
I wanted to say orcs. I love
Halflings.
orcs.
Halflings.
Oh, yes. Of course.
He is also going to do
Not
5.
a hobbit.
Well, it's really easy to overlook them.
Well, he is going to do 5 more, also redefinitions of sort of lesser used fantasy races, and orcs is one of them.
All right.
Not a huge surprise. He did the game Orc World a while back, if you guys remember that one. So you can find out more on his live journal along with a smoking package deal if you want to buy all of them. So we wish John the very best in that. Today we want to talk about something that actually he gives a lot of attention to in his games, which is how do you make a good character background? And so whether you're a GM creating a character for an NPC or whether you're a player creating a character to play, what about your character background makes it fun to play?
You know, this is one of those things. It's like, oh, wow. There's a lot of things and a lot of exercises that people have done, to put together. So I'm going to pick one to start. And one of my favorite things is to come up with a catchphrase, something that you can just latch onto that identifies your character.
Right.
Like your own personal tagline?
Yeah,
exactly.
kind of. It's like, if you want to be my friend, you can be my friend. Or something, because all of a sudden, as soon
So much of what your character does is in dialogue anyway. Having a catchphrase gives you a dialogue-based way to
it sets
express
my frame of mind. It gives me a perspective. As soon as I slip on into whatever accent or dialect it is that puts my character and puts me in that frame of mind, boom, I'm there. So that's the most valuable thing I think I've ever done, because it also sets you up to be able to fall back into character, later on.
Go ahead.
Okay. I actually like to figure out how my character is going to fit in with the other characters of the group. Is it going to be is it going to be something am I going to be related to anybody in the group? Is it going to be something where my character really is an outsider? Because then I can sort of start to figure out how they feel and how they're going to interact with everybody that's in the group.
Yeah, relationships are king, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right.
Because if you have absolutely no, there's always the classic, you meet in a tavern kind of thing,
Right.
which is wonderful and in
Well,
its
it's
own
good
right,
if you
but
want to
it's-
be a group of mercenaries.
right, exactly. But if there's this long drawn out story, I'm actually a new player in they're doing the final part of the trilogy, they call it. It's been this long standing campaign that they've had breaks in between, and so now as even though I've been with them for over a year, they've started in with the end part of the trilogy, and so I'm basically a new character starting in this game, and so
You look trustworthy. Would you like to join us?
well, no, it was actually a lot easier than I expected because I'm related to most of the party.
So you have some
it's
connection to all the other characters.
Right, exactly. And so the wonderful thing is that because it's been this long drawn out campaign, we're now in like the second generation of we're all the kids of the original players.
We did the same thing in a Star Wars game. My character was a galactic noble of some kind, very idealistic and slightly pompous, right? I know that's hard for you guys to believe, but
No.
You played a couple characters like that.
Oh yeah, a little bit. Anyway, so my wife was going to join the game, and we'd been playing as with
Right.
your group for many sessions, and so she came into the group as my character's little sister, who would inherit his title if he were killed by any of the hundreds of people now wanting
Who would
his
kill
head.
him.
Right, so she was now along to protect Big
Nice.
Brother so that she would not have to take his terrible job. It was a really fun relationship because then we could bicker, we could talk about, make fun of each other, things that
Right.
happened back on the home world. It's a lot of
Well,
fun.
that's good.
Because relationships are so important, one of my answers, it's almost like when it comes to putting together character background, it sounds like don't. But really what I mean is start role-playing, do some role-playing exercises, because to me, a relationship and a character is, and who you are is about how you interact with other people. So once you start reacting to other people, other characters in the campaign setting, whether the GM throws you NPCs or the other characters, if somebody puffs up and tries to take an intimidating stance, your characters or your reaction to that helps to define that character.
Right. Do I get angry? Do I back off?
Yeah.
Do I make fun of them?
Well, it also inspires ideas.
Right.
It's like, why am I like this?
Players need to have patience with each other, because you can start off a game with this set character in mind and how you want to go into playing it. And after a couple of sessions, you realize that you've got to kind of diverge a little bit. And so I think that there are some GMs and some players that don't have the patience for actual character development and say, well, okay, these few were a little rough, and now that I've sort of found my footing and I know who I am and I know how I fit in, we can go from there. Yeah. So I think
and sometimes depending on the type of campaign you have, the other characters, you'll have this equilibrium you'll eventually reach.
Right.
It's like, okay, now we have chemistry that can work together.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In John Wick's Blood and Honor, which is his samurai game, most recent samurai game, I should say, he says that, first of all, you've got to limit yourself to one page on your character background and write big.
Right.
And he says that the reason for that is because you want to be able to discover things about your character when you play. And I have a great example of a character that I had a big question in his background, and I kind of had an idea about it, but then I decided to leave it uncertain. It was a Farscape game. And like Farscape, we started out with a jailbreak. And so our one mandatory character background question was, why were you in jail? And it could be that you were wrongly accused, or maybe you did the deed that you were accused of, but you decided that. You were in jail for some reason.
I think that's an excellent way to start, because I think that there are a lot of players that have these, 2, 3, 4-page stories about themselves. And I think that they disappoint themselves because they have all of these expectations about how they want to run their character, and they never get a chance to explore any of that.
Well, what I did for my character was I said that he was an interstellar chef. He was galactically famous among chefs, obviously. And when he poisoned someone, he was accused of poisoning a nobleman.
Nice.
But I didn't specify whether he was guilty or not. He said he was innocent for the longest time, but I didn't know whether he really was. And then later in the game, I decided, wait a second, this guy's a little bloodthirsty, and he's got a real clear way of going about things.
Okay.
So as it turns out, he was guilty. He had poisoned, and he had a very good reason for it. But he had, in fact, done the deed for why he was in prison. And
very nice.
The player characters coping with that revelation was pretty amazing.
I think names are also important.
How so?
Through life, you can always tell when someone was misnamed. I think it's very important to try to name your children for who they are. And I think that it's also very important to name characters for who they are. I don't think just picking some random name slapdash out of a book somewhere, I think you really need to sort of think about it. I also think that it helps connect you. It gives you that, it invests you emotionally in that character if you've chosen a name that fits that character.
Well, there's a lot more that we can talk about on this subject, so we are going to talk about it more next week. We're going to continue talking about making a good character background, and we'll see you then. Thanks.
PulpGamer.com